We are back live once again. Welcome to the last, I think it's the third episode of Sword and Board Pools. We had Bino on the last one. Say hello, Bino. Joining us also is Solve on the other side. Back again for another episode. This is the third. I think it's going to be our final one. We had some camera overheating issues at this point in the day. It was a hot tournament. We're going to hop into it here, and I'll let you guys kind of commentate as you'd like to, say what you need, and have it.
Yeah, so this is a really advantageous position for Paulo. While he was a little off-footed, his control in that area is really good. He's got a really good underside, and he can come up over top really quickly. And when you've got a legged opponent, they can't move away from that. So probably could have used his feet a little bit better, but it ended up looks like he got the win out of it. Looks like a short shot to kind of bait out an attack. Simultaneous shield dropping. Nice.
Yeah,
well
the
done,
trade
gentlemen.
of the arms.
Mm-hmm.
Got to reflect the mirror match. That's the true test, right?
Mm-hmm. So Vash looks like he's taking a real kind of a wider stance. Paulo looks super comfortable in this position. A little bit of a slip there. Take the Simo. That's, I mean, honestly smart. If you don't feel you're confident enough to fight out that game, do something high, fake and hit him in the leg. Or if you feel like you can kind of get there, you can shoot for an arm, but you got to be really careful in that case. So taking the Simo is smart on both fighters.
Yeah, I like how they both just acknowledged that's what they were doing. They both were just like, all right, please give us the shields back.
I want the point of this category. Yes, Paulo doing a little bit of kind of gauging out the other fighter. Looks like Vash is kind of just trying to keep at range there. I think he got hit in the hip.
Yeah, I think he lost to his own bane.
Yep. Okay, so he came right back into space here. Looks like Paulo tried to throw, or rather, Vash tried to throw, and then noticed Paulo was throwing, pulled a shot back, stopping his shot. I probably could have actually gotten the kill if he had thrown that, or at least the trade. Again, Paulo's not in the best footwork position, but he still gets a really good snipe to the back there.
Yeah, he keeps his board in a really good spot to just stop anything Chase can throw because he can't move.
Blocks immediately after, just prepared to block, and then throws right into the other arm. Chase was dead on the shoulder shot, which he acknowledges right there, and threw a late shot, which happens.
They're moving pretty quick. The slow-mo's pretty slow.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to go ahead and jump to the actual next kill here. So we've just got a bunch of hugging and dancing in Simos.
Yeah, so it looks like Paulo hits pretty flat on the shield, but it looks like it's probably not far enough over. It looks like the shield is probably not far enough over on Vash to stop either the arm or the body getting hit. It's one or the other. It looks like it was body because he just took it. Although I could also see Vash taking the arm as a death in that situation because Paulo having his shield and sword still is really rough.
Yeah.
Looks like I am fighting someone.
Or at least challenging.
Paulo.
Okay.
Should be a pretty good fight. Ooh, yeah. Just smart. Immediately takes my leg.
Yeah, that was a really good opener. He was really safe with it too.
Yeah, I was not doing the smartest thing because I was just kind of like goofing around inside of his range, and he took the full advantage for it. He comes up under. He actually hits the edge of my board and my hand a little bit, so he gets caught on it a little bit, but it goes right underneath my leg. I think that was the hip shot that killed there.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because from that angle, it almost looks like you double-legged him.
So that's something I actually tried to work on a lot in this tournament, was throwing more underside stuff. that's a brand new board for me. So this is a really, really difficult tournament because I punched myself in the face like 8 or 9 times because that board is probably 2 inches higher or larger overall, which is just a massive difference, you know. It's also got entirely different strapping too. So it looks like I'd like to see that second fight again, but we'll get back to it in just a second because. Oh, yeah. Okay. I totally forgot that he had hit me in the arm and leg on that one, but.
Got to get you out of the frame.
Yeah, for real.
You know, one thing already I'm kind of seeing is in the first fight with you and Paulo, he immediately opened with a lot of footwork.
Yep.
And he didn't follow any of the other fights like that.
I feel like in this case, I also didn't aggress on him as much because you know, he got that first one and it scared me. I think is what happened. But got his arm in a nice little trade and then just walked at him, blocked a low shot, and chopped him in the body. And that pretty straightforward. It's back to the first fight. Yeah, he just throws the loop, gets me to kind of lock up in place, hits me right in the leg, and that's on me. So kind of tapping the shield, kind of trying to assess the range. He does a like, which is really, really smart because he now knows effectively where my leg is going to be. Unfortunately, he got kind of caught up on my shield in hand there. In this case, threw up, hit the edge of the board, ready to immediately throw behind it, catch the inside of his shot with the inside of my shield. That is entirely an accident. I was dead to rights there, and then boom, boom. It looks like I do hit him with a double leg. Again, kind of throwing those double legs. Paulo's doing a really good job of defending, and then right here, I hit him with the cross, which he brings his shield behind his back. I think I was covering my head, so I didn't know. Boom. Good little block. Hits the edge of the shield. And then full on cross. I missed the leg on the first one, and then I have to stab. So it's very fun. And then I just kept my board up while he was swinging.
I do think that's one of my favorite things about fighting Paulo is once you get into that range of engagement, he's not afraid to bang it out with you.
Yeah, so step in here. Looks like that was body, and then my hand is so far down, I actually get hit in the arm and leg. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the discussion that was going on here because he thought he just hit me in the arm. And that's a super, super important thing is that good communication, you know, letting your, because he thought he had lost. We had to, you know, I let him know what was going on with it. So, and then in this one, I think I ended up taking his arm on this part and then just kind of walking in. He's doing a good job of throwing some shots to kind of get stuff out there, get me to stop in range. But I end up, because my shield is so much larger, I kind of felt safe kind of pulling it over. And then I just table it up and just leave it in place. And managed to, I think, tag his arm right there. Yep, just barely. It was a really bad shot where I kind of drug it in. And then from here, Paulo's left hand is actually still pretty solid. I know I have to be careful because I can still get hit, but sometimes you just
sometimes
you can tell
it's nice. Yeah, having that big impenetrable board still.
Exactly. You can also just tell what they're kind of going to pull, and I just, for some reason, I knew he was going to try and stab under the board, pump it down, block. So looks like we have Mark again versus. Do you remember the name on this one?
Searcy.
Okay. Okay, leg shot right from the front. So Mark is keeping the sword kind of down and pointing at the opponent the whole time. I thought a little bit better than that would be kind of maybe tipping it more parallel with the body or kind of bringing the tip up in space, gives you a little bit more coverage, keeps you in a pretty good advantageous spot to start getting blocks, as opposed to if you're in a stabbing position, having to bring it up to come and guard anywhere.
Do enjoy Mark's willingness to throw, though.
They're both actually throwing a lot of shots. Good clarification of which leg it was.
It's like the other leg.
I think you're correct. All right, we'll just back up a little bit into the fight here. So we started off with a leg. Quick little jab to the shield, not a bad plan. You do a little bit of testing, you kind of get the person to bring their board out over a little bit. And then up and around, looks like the got hit in the arm.
And give it the big dose right back, immediately taking Mark's leg.
Yep. Good shot here. Good defense. And goes for a leg and gets hit in the gets hit themselves. That's
Looks like
one thing I
the-
would like to see.
underneath.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to see is if they throw a little bit more to the bottom of the shield, because they both kind of are setting up for low shots. If you set up for something consistently and then you break that pattern, so if you're used to throwing for low shots or used to throwing for high shots, as soon as you do those a couple of times, you can then break that pattern and come up high or come around, and just teaches the opponent that you have something new in your book of tricks. So good defense. Kind of keeping the board out in front, keeping the punch out, keep it going. All right, looks like me and Vithirin.
Lefty-on-lefty, man, these are my favorite.
This was rough. This tournament had so many lefties in it, and quality lefties too, high-end fighters. It was a lot of fun. This is the first time I've ever fought this person. I was like, oh no. I feel like a lot of what he uses is similar to what I was doing, a year or two ago, just a little bit in the past. So a lot of posturing, a lot of like figuring out each other's moves. I got hit in the leg. I also got a leg hit. I think I do a little bit of rolling around on the ground in this fight.
I'm the one true lefty is what I heard there.
So yeah, now that I've hit him on that opposing side, it's something he's going to have to think about. Even though neither of us were in good positions, something he's going to have to worry about. So that undershot that I do way outside of range is just to assess whether or not he's going to react to it. And I was far outside of range, but I saw him juke up, and I was like, oh, I now know what I can do here. So, couple of leg trades, step in, throw a short shot, and then I try to throw the wrap. He blocks it really well. Comes down here, bounces off the edge of my board. Looks like it hits me in the leg. He hits my leg again on the way down, it looks like, but considering we're both dropping the leg, we have a moment to actually finish that drop before it counts as a legitimate shot. So, and then right here, I just do something goofy. I know when people have their legs so far back, they can't really make some adjustments. So when he's pulling his legs so far back and putting his knee there, the only thing he can really do is kind of like really go forward into that same position where I'm throwing. So even if he was to move forward in that position, he's getting hit in the leg or he's getting hit in the body. So, and then just keep my board up.
Do you advocate for new fighters to roll around on the ground as yourself?
One thing I'd really like to talk about, is just like having fun with it. Like I've been playing for over a decade, and it's still fun to roll around and do goofy things. Just make sure you're safe with it. If you know that's going to happen, you got to be careful.
I do like that last fight though, because I feel like I've fought you a lot, and maybe not so much recently, but I think having that big of an opener is something you don't see a lot when you fight against Bino. So I feel like the lefty-on-lefty matchup was really, it was hot.
Yeah. It was very interesting to fight, especially with someone that like similar builds, kind of similar styles. Looks like Paulo just picking apart arms.
He does really like hitting you in that forearm meat,
Mm-hmm.
especially in board.
That's like the Paulo is that underside. Just something about the way he's got the ability to bring it up and still hit the forearm is fantastic. So I think we're going to back it up a little bit and see just the highlights of those two fights. Pretty good defense. I think if she had, instead of bringing her sword kind of straight over and then turning it out, a little bit better hand positioning, she probably would have blocked that forearm. Because you can see Paulo's sword stops pretty hard on it. Good top wrap for the kill. That's one of those things where she was bringing her board so far out. I think if she had just kind of tipped it up like this, might have blocked that first one. But Paulo has a really good money out of that.
Yeah, it makes that angle a lot easier to achieve.
Because even if you're tipping your board close to your body, it's still way up. So we have Serva here versus remember his name, Solve?
Spartan.
Spartan, thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but when I fight Serva, I'm terrified. He's a huge dude.
Did we only get the one fight there, or did I miss one of them?
I think we were discussing Paulo's ability to go from something to a money, and the first kill here happens pretty quick.
Serva moves the shield really far around, but he's got a punch, so he can kind of afford to do that. Pretty good defense. Looks like he blocks on the corner here. Oh, it looks like it hits the leg, actually, but leg is not a kill. And then throws around and hit the back.
Spartan has the biggest fucking shield I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's a huge shield. Huge.
It's pretty
shield.
big.
Server's doing a really good job of getting around it. In this case. Doesn't get the block on that one though.
I think.
So then I think Spartan won that first fight then.
Yeah, I think
so it must have been body, not leggy. And then it looks like we have Sethra on the left and Tosk on the right.
My homie Seth. Ooh, that was a clean wrap.
And a little bit of a discussion going on here. Not sure what they're talking about.
I think he was maybe questioning the timing of the shot.
Tosk, very fast hands. Solid blocks. Another little bit of a discussion on this one.
2-0, but I cannot tell from those speeds.
Yeah, I think it's Tosk wins 2-0 here. Is that conversation? Not positive though. Short shot into the shield. Kind of stands up on one leg. They could do a little bit cleaner footwork, I think. And Tosk just standing there like the tower on his shield. Looks like a cross into a shoulder shot, and then wraps over to hit the leg or hit the body. But looks like it was probably out of time at that point, which is likely what this discussion was.
Which is awesome, righties. Don't forget, you can throw the same shots on lefties that they throw on you.
Yep.
That was a pretty deep wrap too.
Yeah.
He had moved his board over a lot.
Go more into the lefty hip scoop. What do you mean with that?
So the lefty hip scoop is essentially one of their bread and butter shots where they target the same sword hip of their opponent. And a lot of people who are righty fighters don't have the experience throwing that because they don't see that matchup a lot. And Sethriel has a lot of fighters in their fighting company that are either fighting with both hands or left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to throw that same shot against Tosk.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like I'm still actually not sure who ended up winning that one, because it looks like the first shot Seth threw to potentially hit Tosk in the shoulder may have been blocked, and the second one looked like it came down, but without the audio is a little bit more difficult. Looks like we have Spartan on the left on this one, and then Bell on the right. Bell's using a punch shield in this case.
Man, Bell is so much fun to fight.
Mm-hmm.
He's just so freaking good.
Static. Like, his footwork is one thing that he's been spending a lot of time working on, but in these fights he's kind of very static, at least going through pools. Spartan threw a bunch of like tester shots to feel out where the other fighter was, and in that same time Bell, who's a great fighter, managed to pick up the exact same amount of information and just threw the one he needed. Lots of undershots, lots of coming around, and again, a lot of that is due to the board that he's using. It's hilarious because that is like, I think, a 30-inch board, and compared to Spartans, it looks like it's a small shield.
Yeah, crescent moon to full moon.
Right. Looks like a good little body shot there. So we'll back it up real quick. So yeah, that's the shield that Spartan's using is massive in this case, and with the droopy cover, it looks even larger than it is.
It's all part of the plan. Gotta confuse the eyes.
Yeah, Bell's got his shield pushed out to block any like range testy shots. Also confuses the opponent over where you are, and is able to just kind of like walk in. Great body shot here. This is what I was talking about with Bell being able to get really far around. He's actually throwing his hand like this, but really far out in space, and then bringing his other hand with his board up under himself. So he's blocking this side of his body entirely.
Yeah, I wish his board wasn't so big so that we can see how far Bell moved his board over, because you can see an inch of it on the other side of his board. It's all the way encompassing the other side of his body. Almost like he's giving himself a bear hug.
Yeah, kind of slapped himself. So Spartan threw across. Bell was trying to tag the arm there. Decided not to step in enough. Probably just to be a little bit worried about what Spartan's going to do. A little bit more footwork. Bell, from the rip, like put himself in position, stood still. Spartan took a step in. Bell turned his hand all the way around. Just gorgeous looking.
It's like he saw the size of the board and was like, "Oh, you're a DAG player? Let's bang! Like, let's stand here and throw shots at you." Like, I'm used to this.
So we got Servo on the left and Seth on the right.
Very fast arm snipe right there.
Mm-hmm. And then Serva kind of playing around, keeping the sword down. It keeps Seth like on the defensive the whole time. That's one of Serva's favorite shots, is that under and then wrap to the outside. You can just whip those swords around.
Very clean again.
Just uses the corner of the shield to block his shoulder and then hits. So we get a little bit of money action. Good shield defense. Makes to bring his body back, put the shield in front of him, and then Seth being down an arm, just kind of retreating. One thing they could have done there is they could have stepped off center a little bit more. That would have given them a better opportunity to potentially catch a block, especially if Seth stepped into the same side as that sword. But the problem there becomes the fact that it was pointed directly at them. Good defense on both sides, using the point really well. Server trying the money again. Manages to get the arm. Let Seth pick up their sword. And just plays a lot of defense in this case.
Yeah, I do. On the exchange where he throws under and then covers his left shoulder, I do really wish we saw him throw a dark side there. I think that'd be really cool. It was very open. But he does a really good job of moving his board. I fought him in board as well for a little bit, and he was actually eating me up on a lot of things that I just wasn't expecting him to do because he's got that punch.
Yeah, not to cut you off here. These two are company mates fighting the exact same part. This is probably going to be pretty quick little fights. You know, one of the things we see a lot in this tournament is we see a lot of like ranging shots and kind of testing each other out, and a lot of that is just due to the fact that all of these fighters haven't fought each other at least for the most part. And so when you have fighters that are more comfortable with each other, you're going to see one person typically skyrocket in the overall fights, and that's because they have figured out what the opponent is going to do almost to a T. In this case, Bell looks to be, at least in the first fight, just retreating a little bit. Service throwing a lot of shots, leaning over, probably what Bell's trying to aim for.
Giving you reach, I teach moments.
Mm-hmm. Bell keeps throwing this really good coverage, but he keeps throwing the exact same shot, and he ends up getting it on the third shot too, it looks like. And what he's doing there is he's throwing across and then making sure to bring his little punch shield over. Great money. Absolutely beautiful. And then steps away.
Bell's ability to keep range is quite good. I mean, going back to this last one, when Serva here throws all of these shots, he's able to keep directly back where he needs to be the entire time. He knows that Serva's a big man. He knows the entire time exactly how far.
Bell just keeps his feet in really good positions, and one of the things that I think a lot of people miss whenever they use punch shields is to keep control of the range at which you're holding the punch shield away from your body. If you're fighting someone that you're kind of not used to, you want to keep it a little further out, or if you know someone likes to throw a lot of like long range shots, you keep your punch out and it cuts off more angles of attack. But as soon as you get a little bit more comfortable with another fighter, then you can kind of pull it closer to your body. It's maybe not the most advantageous thing, but you can make it work to an extremely high level.
Right.
In this case, Bell's using a lot of like really fantastic minor steps as opposed to lunges away or lunges towards, like myself and Ferrex like to do a lot of the time. Just little steps here and there, getting good positioning. In this case,
the other crazy thing about Bell, real quick, is like you're gonna see something and it's gonna look tasty, and it's gonna be his board every time almost. He's just fought so much with a punch, and he has other sword and borders brains figured out so much most of the time that like he's 2 steps ahead of you of where he needs to block.
Yeah, and
every time.
His hand positioning is insane because he can really twist in a lot of motions, which are typically what we try to teach new fighters to avoid. You know, bending your wrist too far in one way. You know, typically when we teach new fighters, we try to teach like good hand positioning, good wrist positioning. But once you understand where your shots are going to be, then you can start to really push that out of the normal position. In that case, what you're seeing is Bell is like twisting his hand all the way in. Now he actually gets hit in the wrist, which could be very painful, which is one of the reasons why we try to keep newer fighters away from that. But in that case, it doesn't look like he got hurt. So we got Spartan on the left, Tosk on the right. First one looks like it might have gone down to a hip wrap, but I'm not positive. I was talking too much.
It kind of looks like maybe we reset it because there was a headshot.
Okay. That's fair.
Looks like another Simo.
I think you're right.
I think he threw over into the shoulder. Was fast enough.
Toss going for leg again, which is smart. getting a bit too close there with the shield. Shield on shield contact is legal, to the point that you push the other fighter. Now, I don't think either the fighters here is, would be upset about it, but if the fight had not stopped, Tosk may have moved in a little bit too far there. Knocks the head off, takes a leg shot. Kind of just assessing what the legged fighter is going to do. Spartan consistently pushing when legged, which is not something you see a lot. Most of the people will kind of like tank up, either stick their leg really far back or whatever it may be.
Looks like he may have won that. Did he chop him in the shoulder?
Not sure, but we'll back it up and see in just a moment.
I think having such a big shield like that kind of gives him a lot of confidence that they're not going to be able to get around it while he's legged.
Yeah, that's fair. Good defense. Gets bopped in the dome. Bops him in the dome too. Yeah, this is what I was talking about with being a little bit too close. So Spartan moved there, and that movement was not technically legal in Amped Guard, at least. We were playing in an Amped Guard adjacent game here. So not sure what the ruling was on that. But either way, you have to be very careful.
Maybe a little much for rubbing and racing, yeah.
Lots of just, there are a little bit less test shots in this fight. It looks like they're just trying to throw to hit each other in a lot of the case. Not sure what you got there, Solve.
I think, again, it just comes back to his shield. He's just trying to throw anything he can to beat him. And
Gotcha.
Here, it does look like the shoulder, yeah.
Yep.
Which, it worked out in his case. I think it made the fights a little bit messier. You have such a defensive option in your hand. I think he could have thrown a lot of more rangy openers and really tried to get his opponent to move more in a very safe position.
A little bit to what you want to get out of the game, right? Like it's, maybe not the most competitive shield, but as long as they are happy at the end of the day with what they get out of it,
Sethriel and Bell.
I might have messed their name up earlier. So if I did, I'm sorry, Seth. Looks like we saw one of Bell's standards, which is boom, hit him in the arm. Sometimes it'll go so far as to hit them in the body if he decides to step in far enough. Seth was trying to maintain range. Bell, again, very, very sneaky, very good at getting in on it. Boom. Nice tag. Looks like it stops on the edge of the shield. It might have drug up and hit in the arm a little bit, but Seth looks like they were already dead at that point. Here goes the arm snipe. Good shield coverage. Bell is just dragging his shield all the way across. And then take the leg, catch the block.
Yeah, super safe shot too for him.
Mm-hmm. So we got Tosk versus Serva. This should be a pretty interesting fight. Two big, strong dudes.
Ooh, very clean.
Yep.
Body. Serva.
Yeah, Serva did a really good job there. He and I fight semi-regularly. So he gets a little bit of lefty practice. Tosk and I are different kinds of lefties, but still good to know when you can throw those shots. And then it looks like the arm chop into maybe a second shot.
Yeah, I think he threw chop block and then threw back into the arm.
Pump fake. Gets the shield to drift over. Brings his arm up. Tosk moves his shield up a little bit too far. Tries to throw a cross of his own. And then tries to throw the lefty hip wrap. Boom. Smashed right on the arm. And then looks like the shot came up and hit in the neck a little bit there. And then the second shot, which we can't see because Brett is doing an amazing job reaving, follows up and hits the other arm, hits the left arm again.
I really liked the amount of level change we saw from Serva in those two fights. I don't think we saw it in his first series when he was fighting Bell. I think he was reading a lot more, but I mean, he was fainting towards his opponent on a high level, and then he was going down and bending, and I think that really won him the fight.
I think that the big thing there is he was moving when he was fighting Bell, but most of it was plant foot, then lean over, as opposed to in this series of fights where moved in quite a bit.
So Seth threw a 1-2. Maybe there was a Simo there with a.
I think it was a headshot. I'm not 100% sure on that call. It was very close. Seth's hand was past Spartan's shield and almost punched him in the face. Got the arm tag.
Yep. Nice little arm tag.
Yep. Okay, so it looks like that first fight must have went to Spartan then. We'll back it up and see. Oh, there it was. Kind of a similar thing to what Bell does, but different hand position at the end of it. And then tries to cover with the shield. And then just a little quick little arm snipe. Takes Seth out of the fight.
And it's hard. It's hard to fight from the arm position.
Yeah, being down an arm, it becomes to a lot of range control. You cannot plant your feet for even a split second, or you're going to get hit. It's lots of range control, lots of trying to snipe the opponent, trying to keep their hands at bay, throwing short shots and stuff, just looking for an opening. Looks like we got Tosk on the left, Bell on the right. Bell again at my park, so he's got a ton of lefty experience at this point. Again, Tosk and I are not the same, but still, you have a lot of similarities when you get to fight somebody that has the sword on the same side as you. Something not a lot of fighters get a good bit of experience with, so that's one of these reasons why this tourney was crazy.
I do enjoy the amount of movement Bell has in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe because he was a lefty boardman and Bell didn't know him, he was maybe trying to move a little bit more to see if he would react to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Bell leaning forward a little bit. Tosk kind of got like a very static stance. Kind of interesting to see how the different fighters, position themselves. Both of them keeping their hands pretty close to each other, kind of close to the body, just trying to at the very least get a Simo out of this. Which it looks like that's how it went. So I think this is going to be our last fight here.
I do enjoy that Bell is okay with tapping swords with somebody so close, but he immediately resets to the space he wants instead of just standing in front of people.
Yep.
A lot of people will get stuck in that.
Yeah, Bell just doing a little bit posturing here. Tosk got his hip really turned out. Bell's kind of got like a more up and down stance in this case. Difference in kind of shield coverage because Bell is keeping his shield more in front of him, kind of out in the front. At a little bit of a lower range, probably to try and draw high shots. Gets a beautiful, beautiful shot over the shield there. Around the shield, I should say. Pumps out of position, throws. And then this is the footwork section you were talking about. Why don't you go over a little bit there?
So he does a really good job of half stepping, then it looks like stepping a full step to his sword side. So he does this little half step switch and then full steps to the sword side. I don't think he's successful in getting the arm there, but he gets to throw again right under his board.
Yep.
And then double taps the arm.
Barely gets hit in the arm too. And then as the shield's coming down, it looks like Tosk hits Bell on the top of the hand. Manages to tag out the arm at the same time.
I like to call it a C step because essentially his feet do make a C when he steps like that, and it's very misleading because you think they're only coming in very slight because their feet are switching positions, but when he takes the full step while doing it, he's actually inches within one side of your board, and it's very, very high on the footwork list when it comes to how good you are at stepping and stuff like that. And I think it just goes to show that Bell's footwork is pretty damn good.
Yeah. So here you could actually see their footwork kind of really coming into play. Bell is doing a lot of like kind of minor steps. Tosk has his feet planted and wide because he knows that he's going for the simul. In this case, it looks like Bell managed to get the torso. Tosk just started his shot, right after he got hit, or right before he got hit rather, and Bell gets tagged in the back for a simul, which is totally fine. If you can reset the fight, do that every time. Someone takes a little bit of psychic damage every time there's a simul, though. So
if one of these two players is rolling a d6.
So yeah, Bell a little bit more in Tosk's position here.
That was a sneaky stab.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's the shot on the inside there. And gets tagged in the arm on the way out.
That stab was so smooth. He pumped like he was gonna throw that normal opener that he has, where he brings his board around, and instead he just immediately lowered his sword and thrust into his opponent's hip. He's a good fighter, man. It's crazy watching his stuff slow-mo like that is actually really fun.
He and I talked about that shot recently, actually. We fought not too long ago, and he did that to me, but it was not just it did not miss. It hit me so hard I almost wanted to sit down for the day. And yeah, it's exactly what you're talking, just like kind of a short shot into the immediate lunge in and stab. So it's kind of cool to see it more of in its infancy as a shot, I guess.
Guys, I appreciate you stopping in and it's been almost 45 minutes to talk with us this evening. I appreciate it. This episode of the Come Try Larp National Tournament is sponsored by Gorg the Blacksmith, gorgtech.com. Buy it or die by it. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I appreciate it. Bino, Solve. You'll have a great night.
You too.